Right, okay. So,
Yo.
we're back. After what feels like an eternity, right? Feels like a long time. I don't know why, but we're back with the Counter-Strike Casuals podcast, and we're recording this on a weird time and day for us. So the lighting and everything's a bit weird. It's like, I don't know, afternoon. It's like we should be working. Don't tell.
Yeah, the sunlight's melting us.
Yeah, it's hot. Life got in the way, which means we couldn't record at our usual time. Anyway, enough of that. We're here now. We're here. How are you? Everything all right?
Yeah, good mate. I mean, bit hectic, right off my feet today, but as you know, I've been away. I've been camping this weekend, so yeah, I'm still not back in work mode yet, even though it is Tuesday. How about you?
It's Tuesday at 4:20 p.m. Oh,
Yeah.
That's why you're not in work mode. 4:20 p.m.
Ah.
Yeah, all good over here. I've been working from home today, which has enabled this. Right, let's jump straight into this. Gamers8 just finished at the weekend. So Vitality won. The interesting thing about Gamers8, I don't know how much you watched of it. I actually watched more than I thought I would. It was a single elimination off the bat, best of 3. So it was like no chance for any dips in performance or second chances if you lost. It was lost and you're out, which I quite liked. Maybe again, as the casual in me, I quite enjoyed the fact that we weren't going to see Heroic against Gamer Legion twice if one of them messed up or something, which can often happen. You can see repeats, can't you, in these like mad 2-week tournaments where they're like, losing doesn't mean you're out. So I quite liked it. I thought it was quite fun. There was a few surprises though because of that, right? So some teams went out straight from the off. I suppose the biggest names were Fnatic, Liquid, and FaZe were the ones that went out in the first round.
Yeah, I think Fnatic wasn't a massive surprise. They were against Cloud9. FaZe, a little bit of a surprise, considering VP's recent form.
Yeah, but I think they struggle against VP, right? Well, I think most teams struggle against VP.
Yeah, I don't know. VP must be a weird one. Maybe it's difficult for the top tier teams, but for the lower tier teams, they seem to do pretty well against them.
It was a close game between them and FaZe, to be fair. But FaZe, man, I mean, if you look at the ratings from those guys, it was pretty bad. You know, I think I watched that game. I can't remember because I feel like I watched quite a few games.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about FaZe now, but I don't know if you want to talk about them in a bit. Let's talk about Gamers8 first, and then.
All right, fine. So the teams that made kind of deep runs, I guess, which I would always kind of, I assume the semi-finals is like good onwards. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if he gets caught,
unless it's Heroic, and then you just ignore it.
Well. they've just done what they always do, and they back up exactly where I ranked them last week in our last podcast. And what I always say about them, they got to the semi-finals again, and then they got dicked by Ents. Other than the first map, the first map was close and it went to overtime. The second map they lost 16-5. And funny that we were talking about Heroic and Tessus and who would replace there, which Tessus was the one. He actually had like a really good tournament.
He was one of the highest rated players of the whole tournament.
For them.
Out of all the teams.
Yeah.
No, out of all the teams.
Oh, was it all of them? Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm sure he was in like the top 10 players anyway. Maybe the top 5.
Interesting.
Just
we brought it up, and then Talking Counter spoke about it. And if you do your research, we actually talked about it first. But maybe he heard what they were saying and like fucking showed up. I doubt he was listening to us. But yeah, but them as a team still did what they do best, which is they got to semi-finals. They didn't win. Brilliant. You're a top 3 or 4 team, nothing more. So,
yeah, I think you're right. They're very consistent. And like I said last week when we did our rankings, I changed my 3 and 2, which was Ents and Heroic. So
definitely the right.
I had Heroic as 2 and Ents as 3. But I originally had it the other way around, and I kind of wish that I didn't change them, because now I'm looking at it, and Heroic are, like you said, consistently like the 3rd best team, and I think they are pretty solid and they are consistent. Like we said last time, they can always get to the semi-finals pretty much every time, but they're not beating, like they're nowhere near Ents and Vitality at the minute. Ents and Vitality are just head and shoulders above everyone.
But they're not. When you get to the semi-finals as well in like these CS tournaments, they say third to fourth, so they don't even have like a third place playoff, it seems. But if the third place playoff here would be between G2 and Heroic, and I think they'd lose to G2, so they'd end up fourth, to be honest. But anyway, and if you look at their run to the semi-final, Heroics, they beat the Falcons and Gamer Legion. Gamer Legion's, they're doing all right, actually, to be fair. They're looking like they're kind of living up to their recent good form at the major and all that stuff. Ents had to beat Liquid and Cloud9 to get to, and then beat Heroic. So, I think there's quite a big gap between like Ents and Heroic now in terms of how how good they are.
I think Vitality and Ents are, like I said, head and shoulders above everyone, but also really closely matched. Like going into that final, I did not know who was going to win. Ents usually beat Vitality, and they also didn't drop a map until the final. So Ents have been really impressive.
Yep. Well, the Anubis match I watched for the final anyway. I watched the Anubis map. I watched fully, and Ents just dominated. Like they just knew exactly what they were doing. There was no ifs or buts. Snappy whiffed a few shots where he was trying to flank and missed a couple of easy shots, but other than that, like they were just a fucking unstoppable, mate. They just looked so good. And then I didn't watch the rest of the maps, to be honest with you, because I think it was Sunday night. My wife and that had been away, so I had to spend a bit of time with her. And then I tuned back in, but there was that technical pause, which every game seemed to have a technical issue at this Gamers8 thing. I don't know what they're doing out there, but it was like the most technical timeouts I've ever seen in a tournament. It was just painful.
Yeah, it was frustrating because I watched the end of Anubis and was watching Mirage, and then I probably could have watched the whole thing if there wasn't for that technical break. Sure, it lasted like over half an hour.
They must have lost a lot of viewers from that.
It's frustrating.
Can't go to Saudi Arabia and have technical issues, surely. You've got loads of money, just bring in a whole new set or something. I don't know what they... You'd have thought they just...
throw money at the problem.
Yeah. Something wrong with the machine, bring another one in. Otherwise, what's the point in all this? Stick to Cologne and Copenhagen. So... It was a good final. It was two good teams. It's the type of people you want to see in the final. I liked this tournament. It was quite fun. Another team that I think had a poor run, and it gives me great joy, was Navi. Navi got to the quarters. They lost to Vitality, but they got dicked by Vitality. They didn't even they won 13 rounds over 2 maps, Navi.
Yeah, I think Navi are where everyone expects them to be at the minute. They're not beating Vitality. They're probably not beating G2, Cloud9, and Heroic. They're not beating any of the top teams. But everybody else, they could get there.
Yeah. G2 also made it to the semi-finals. You mentioned them. Any opinion on how they did considering their Cologne win?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic with G2 at the minute. I feel like they're playing pretty good Counter-Strike, and I think it's a good thing. I want Nico and Monesi and those guys to do well, and I think they went through a bit of a shit time during the major. Around that, before and after the major, they weren't playing great, to be honest. So it's good to see that they're doing well. If anyone's losing to Ents or Vitality, I'm not gonna be too harsh on them, because Ents and Vitality at the minute are just ridiculous. So I don't know how you feel about this, but I can't remember what game it was. I was watching, I think it was Vitality, and I was kind of thinking, I'm a bit bored of how dominant they are.
Oh, really?
I want it to be a bit more competitive. Yeah. I just feel like they've got so much firepower. Like if Zywoo's not popping off, they've got Spinks or Flames or Magis that can pull something out the sleeve, and it seems they're a bit stacked. I don't know whether there's any kind of limits in CS to like how stacked you can make a team, but
I don't know, because if you look at the G2 game and look at like G2's roster with Nico, Hunter, and Monacy. Are you talking about Vitality or G2?
Vitality.
Yeah, if you look at Nico, Hunter, Monacy, and JKS when they're all popping off, that's a pretty stacked team. Like, and you look at the G2 Vitality semi-final, that was 3 maps. First one was 16-12, the second map 16-10 to G2, so in the other way very similar, and then it went to overtime for the third map. So that's a pretty stacked 2 teams battling it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they are, but like G2, for example, you've got Nico and Monacy, which are like top tier players.
Yeah.
But then, so let's say you got Zywoo and Nico, yeah? Then you've got, what, Flames and Monacy? Like, you putting them on the same level?
No, I would have
Maybe Monacy a little bit better.
A little bit better, yeah, definitely.
So then you've got Spinks. He's better than anyone else left on G2's roster.
Oh, I don't know, because I think Hunter turns up in the big game plays and seems to be really reliable at these tournaments. So
okay, well, I wouldn't put Hunter, JKS, or Huxley on the same level as Flames, Spinks, or Magis. And I would say Apex is better than Huxley as well, as in terms of player, not talking about in-game leader or anything.
But you say about them kind of dominating or whatever, but again, you know, G2 just won Cologne and Ents won a few others, didn't they, like Dallas and stuff. So they are definitely. I've seen a lot of chat about the Vitality era, and I don't think it's like the Vitality era at the moment. It doesn't feel like it's.
No, I see. I'm not saying they're dominating. They're going to win everything, because there's also Ents as well, which I feel like are just as good. And like I said earlier, I feel like during that final, either team could have won. I think more terms of it's those 2 teams are going to be really difficult for any other team to beat, and I think they're going to have a bit of luck on their side to beat Ents or Vitality.
Right.
Because in my opinion, Heroic are probably 3. G2 are catching them up. But G2 and Heroic, if they're playing Ents or Vitality, no one's picking Ents or Vitality. I mean, no one's picking Heroic or G2 to beat one of those 2 teams. It'd be good if it was a little bit more level.
Okay, because for a while it felt like anyone could beat anyone, but it feels like it's settling down a bit more now, doesn't it? Where it's like a bit more expected to see those 3 or 4 same names, but
yeah, I think Vitality won the major and then got better. Ents I'm not too fussed about, because I feel like they're not overly stacked. I just think their players work well together.
Yeah.
And Snappy utilises everyone really well. With Vitality, I just think they're stacked.
Yeah.
I think they could honestly be better than they actually are. I think they underperform sometimes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think they should be winning more often than they actually do.
Fair enough. Was there anyone else at Gamers8 that you were disappointed with? I mean, I feel like you put a lot of expectations on Cloud9 before. I seem to feel like you were you were flying the Cloud9.
I wouldn't say. They beat Fnatic, and I think Fnatic have been playing really well recently.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed.
Well, I think that's a good result for Cloud9.
And it wasn't even that close. I'm surprised they didn't put more of a fight, Cloud9, following their Fnatic after their Cologne performance.
I think Cloud9 are very, very good, and they played against Ents, and I mean, they got battered by Ents, but they're a new team, aren't they? So I think they've still got to iron out some creases. Heroic have been disappointing me. I like them, but yeah, I think because their game with Falcons was close. Their first game, pretty sure they were losing. Then they managed to catch up and take it to overtime, and just won. Yeah. So Heroic were a bit disappointing. They still need to shake things up. I know Tessis was playing better, Don't ask me what they need to do because there's a lot of options. I think we could probably do a whole episode on just how heroic could get better. There's so many different avenues they could go down to improve.
Yeah.
But they lost against Ents, so again, I can give them a bit of a pass. But no, not really. I wasn't really disappointed with anyone apart from FaZe. So I think now would be probably a good time to talk about them. If you're ready for that talk.
Yeah.
Because I think, young man, I think you need to... you need to...
Alright, okay. I'm ready to talk about FaZe. Alright, yes, FaZe were disappointing. The thing is, you listen to Rop's on Talking Counter?
Yep.
They effectively asked him straight out of the bat, didn't they? And said, why are the performances not where they need to be? And he kind of strangely just said that, like, I might be paraphrasing it here, didn't he? But he kind of said that the motivation isn't the same, right? He was kind of he said that, and then about 10 minutes later, he started saying, like, hate losing and I'm really motivated. But he kind of insinuated that since they won their major, the Grand Slam, they're a bit not demotivated, but the motivation isn't the same to go out and win every single tournament, and I guess that's showing. I think the loss of Robban as well seems to be quite big. Like, when that was announced, I mentioned I watched a few of their vlogs and stuff when they're going to tournaments, and he was like proper just one of the lads within the team, I think. So I reckon that would feel like you're losing like one of your, like on a basketball team, one of the main guys on the team that's like brings the banter and stuff. He brought a lot of banter and a lot of the kind of just human friendship, it seemed. So they're probably missing that. Maybe they are just a bit stale at the moment. They had such a big year last year and won the Grand Slam and stuff. So
are you disappointed when because obviously you would say you're more of a fan of FaZe than any other team.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed watching them?
Yeah, I think it's just like there's always an expectation when you see them and you expect them to do well. So it's a bit like, come on, lads. Like,
they're one of the teams that I do feel like could be like Vitality. They could be up there. They have a pretty stacked roster. They have some great players. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know what you think of this. Can you base a team on how good they are on their AWPA? I know we've kind of had this AWPA chat in the past. If you think about it, we've got Vitality, they've got Zywoo.
Yeah.
We've got...
I think I know where you're going with this.
Got Ents, Sumpius, and I'm not joking. When I was watching, it might have been Anubis, and even a bit of Mirage, to be honest with you. I think Vitality won Mirage, but I would say if I watched that and I didn't know who any of the players were, Sumpius looked like the best player on the server for good chunks of that game.
Yeah, he looked really good. Anubis, he looked unplayable.
Yeah, you've got Monacy.
Yeah.
And it pains me to say it because I do really like Brokey, and he's a sick player. He can really pop off. But you're
picking all of them over Brokey, aren't you? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Does he hold them back a little bit? As good as he is, like I think he's sick, and I really rate him. But he's not as good as those other top AWPers, even like Device and who else have we got? That Shiro. Yeah, you do have some players that just don't pop off as often, or they pop off more often than Brokey. He doesn't pop off as much, does he?
I think not at the moment. I think he's definitely not performing, but they're all struggling at the moment. So I don't know whether it is just a form thing with him as well. I don't know. I've heard people say need to replace Rain as well now, right? Which just feels like sometimes when a team aren't performing well, they're just like, replace the oldest, even though Carrigan's the oldest. But like, I don't think people would say you can replace Carrigan at the moment. Just replace the oldest member of the team and get ready for CS.
Rain does well though. Like Rain does. Still, so.
Yeah, he does the work that he's meant to do, and he's
reliable.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. It is disappointing. I don't know what's going on there.
So what do you think that you need to mix up at FaZe?
I
If you want
think.
to shake up and you're the owner and you're like, right, you're not performing, lads.
Well, I think
Sort it out.
they've just bought the coach in. I think unfortunately it's one of those cop out things where it's like you need to kind of let that develop and let that coach come in and do at least settle into the team. I know he's been with them before, had some involvement before, but he's literally had 10 maps with them so far. So I think let that settle in, see how that looks. If it starts, let's say we get into CS2 and the first 2 or 3 major tournaments, not major, but like big tournaments are still just the same performance as they are. That's when you start looking at a Rain, I think. And maybe a Brokey if Brokey's still not putting the numbers up, but probably you look at the older guys and start thinking, hang on, do we need to bring the new guard in and start preparing for the new period of CS? At the moment, I'm reluctant to change anything.
Because I think it's a really difficult one, because if you get rid of Rain, who do you bring in?
I don't know, it's phase. I feel like you can go and get...
Yeah, but if you bring someone in, you're bringing in, let's say you want a good rifler.
Mm.
Who are you going to bring in? You've got Twists and Robs as well.
And
They're good riflers. Like, you're not going to get a rifler as good as them.
And all the big moves have kind of happened.
Yeah, I think you need to... I know you're not going to like this, and I don't think anybody will, to be honest. You need either a new in-game leader or a new AWPer.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that about Carrigan, because he's never expected to put up the numbers that a Brokey or a Rain's meant to. And
no, I'm not expecting him to. What I'm saying, I'm not saying, oh, get rid of Carrigan. I'm just saying, if you looked at this without knowing who Carrigan is and what he's achieved, just don't get me wrong, they've done well. But if you're saying, right, Robs is good, Twists is good, Rain's okay, Brokey's good, why are they not performing? You've got to look at the in-game leader,
but
surely.
There's no... Who do you then get in? There's such a lack of good in-game leaders, or perceived, good in-game leaders.
I guess it's you're just mixing it up a bit, aren't you? And just trying to see what works, because something's not working.
Like you try and go for someone like Snappy, but I don't think someone like Snappy would leave Ents now, would they? They're just why would they? Like second in the world.
Yeah, I think FaZe are just one piece away from being one of the top teams again. I mean, I'm not saying they completely fell off. They could come back and start doing well again, but it doesn't feel like they're going to. I feel a little bit like that with Heroic. Have they fallen off now?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's quite early to say. They just had 3 bad tournaments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like both teams need to mix it up.
Well,
maybe they could do some trades. Maybe Carrigan and
Caden could just swap.
Yeah, swap teams.
Well, then you need to lose Brokey then, wouldn't you? Because Caden would want AWP, so. But
yeah, well. Yeah.
Okay. So that's Gamers8. I quite enjoyed it. I quite like the single elimination.
I liked the format. Hated the fucking technical issues. Liked the final. Liked the semi-finals, and thought the winner was well deserved.
Good, well done. GG's vitality and great run from Ents. Enjoyed it. So let's move on then, and let's talk about CS2. I think yesterday was Counter-Strike's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday! And we thought this was gonna be out by now. I know we said this many times, but it's not.
It's next weekend, I've been saying.
Next weekend, as in the weekend coming up, which is the bank holiday.
Yeah.
For those in the UK. Okay. If it does, that's mad. I'm at home. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm in Spain.
Okay. So, the big news around Counter-Strike 2 at the moment is the potential leaks that have suggested that they're going to go back to MR12, so max round 12.
No, they've released MR12s, haven't they?
Oh, is it actually out? Because I'm kind of doing the thing where you stay away from too much actual CS2.
Yeah,
content.
I think they've released MR12 in some casual play or something. Sorry, I'm proper out of the loop because I've been camping and I had no signal. But I'm pretty sure.
Okay, fine.
They've got something that's MR12, which is making people think, oh, are they going to do that in competitive?
Alright, so let's assume that MR12 comes into CS2. In competitive, and the first major is MR12. What have we got any opinions? Do we feel?
I
can't remember what it was like for MR12, but that's because I can't remember what I did 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, I'm not really fussed about them changing it. I'm not like, oh, this is an outrage, but I would rather them just leave it as it is. The amount of games I watch and I think, oh, this team's coming back, they could still win this, and they come back and win it, and that's usually, the better team. A good team can have a bit of a blip at the start of a game, or they lose pistols or whatever, and they just find it difficult to get back into the game.
Yeah,
and we're gonna lose that, and we're gonna have more worse teams winning games because the other team hasn't warmed up properly yet. So I would rather just have the
you'd rather have MR16. So the thing that I think a lot of people are talking about is obviously the ecos, the amount of ecos that are in games, eco rounds, which can make it boring, right? When people just have like 2v4 or 3v4, and they don't even go for like a retake because they'd rather just save rounds. They'd rather save their guns. I'm hoping it does have a positive impact on less saving and a bit more riskier moves in games. Fuck it, man. We're casuals. We want to see some exciting stuff. I don't really want to see everyone saving, a FAMAS, and it's like, you should just go for the retake. There's like 2 of you against 3 of them. I know only one of you's got a FAMAS, as one's got like a SMG and one's got a Deagle, but let's see what happens. This could be fun. So I do hope it does bring a bit of a different angle to that. I agree I hadn't really thought about what you're saying about making comebacks a bit less likely, because we do get a fair bit.
Heroic, when they were playing Falcons, I'm pretty sure Falcons got to 15.
Right.
Way before, Heroic were nowhere near them, and then Heroic caught up and ended up taking it to overtime and winning.
Okay.
So that obviously wouldn't have happened. And how many games do you play where I feel like in Counter-Strike, the game's never over. You can always chase the comeback, and it happens quite often. And I feel if you're doing this MR12, it's going to be over a bit too quick. Do you think that? I know you've had a little moan about this in the past, so I'm guessing you think the games are too long as it is.
But I'm talking purely from a selfish perspective, where if I do want to watch some Counter-Strike on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, it just takes up so much time that I don't get the full story or the full picture. I end up watching 7-8 rounds or one map, and then I have to go do something because life and the casual life calls and family. So it just means, again, from a selfish perspective, I'll probably be able to watch more Counter-Strike. So that's it. But I'm open to changing all the time, so I'm more than willing to see how it feels and give it a go before making too much of a judgment. To be fair, everyone hates change, and then you either
change it, and everyone would just get used to it. Everyone would live with it, and it'd be fine. But would it be better? Would it make the game better? I don't think it really will.
Okay, well let's see.
But I don't think it's going to make it massively worse either. I see where you're coming from with the saved rounds. That could help, but I also think they could do that some way with the economy.
Yeah, but I think they've tried to fix the economy so many times. Let's see. I'm up for giving it a go. They also updated their announcement was about rankings as well, and the world rankings, which I don't think we need to go into too much. I don't think it's even in play yet, but it's like they're going to be judging. Valve are going to have their own rankings based more on prize money. So the idea being it's going to encourage a lot more people to attend tournaments and try their hardest in tournaments, which will then determine entry into some of the other events like the majors and stuff. So less teams skipping and deciding, we don't want to go to that tournament, we want to wait for that one. But I don't know, again, similar to the MR12 thing, it's just a change that people will moan about for a bit, and then it will become standard and molded and work to probably fit the scene, right?
Yeah.
Right, I did want to touch on the state of UK Counter-Strike right now, because since our last podcast, there's been more random stuff happening with. Right, the last CSGO major felt like such a high for UK Counter-Strike, right, where we had into the breach, battling away. You know, all the hype around Cypher and all that. With the player break and the roster mania that happened, Into the Breach ended up not becoming a UK core. They lost Cypher. They lost Volt. They lost their coach. Did they lose the coach as well? Yeah, they lost the coach who was, who, you know. So
recently though.
Yeah, recently. So and they're down to like 26th, 27th in the world now. So Into the Breach, sorry, no longer UK into the Breach. Cypher, I don't know what's happened to him. You know, the geezer's won about 100 quid and seems to think that he's Richard Branson or something, living on his island in Harrow or wherever he's from. So I've never seen him since, and his team didn't get announced. I don't know what he's doing.
TSM team.
I don't think they've been announced though, have they? Who are?
It hasn't been announced, but apparently the whole team that's rumored to be on were playing a game or have entered some kind of tournament somewhere together. Might have been this Sydney one,
right?
Because I remember thinking, oh, so Cypher's going over to Sydney. So I think they've entered a team like under no organisation, but all the players that are rumored to be on TSM are playing in this tournament.
Okay, well,
I could have dreamt this, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
Anyway, my point is, it's disappointing that we've lost that team who were a top 20 team at one point, I think, and one of the more exciting players. Even if it was just a flash in the pan, bit of hype, then you know, it was still exciting, and he was quite a likeable character, I thought, as well, and kind of represented in a weird way like grassroots UK gaming. He had his fucking Tesco bag. Do you know what I mean? All that stuff's just good.
Yeah.
Then recently as well, Viperio completely parted ways. Yeah, they basically, their whole roster and their coach just said that they couldn't come to an agreement on their contracts. So that's no longer a thing. Who, you know, they weren't an amazing team. Where were they ranked in the world at the? They were like 90th in the world or something. So they're not great. But it was just, again, just feels like another bit of a kick in the teeth for UKCS and like what on earth is going on. I also saw that this. I think I sent you a tweet as well. I was on Twitter and a company. Another organisation called Verdant were disqualified from ESL UK because I think some of their players were stream sniping, and then the whole team was dropped from by the organisation. So another team just disbanding basically. I don't actually know the full story there. I saw another tweet about one of the guys saying that there was some bad eggs in the team, or it was some individuals and not everyone. But another UK team effectively just binned. So it's just, I think, to go from such a high to such a low, it feels like we're at like the lowest of the low again. And it's a bit disappointing, even though I'm not that patriotic about this. I feel like you are more than me. But I'm interested because we're going to go to a LAN soon and to see what the vibe is there. I'm going to ask a lot of people. We're sat in the Counter-Strike area, so we'll get a vibe. Like, do people even care about this, or is this just us being... you know,
we'll see. I feel like we're a bit like America in a certain sense, whereas like, yeah, you know, we're on to the new thing. The rest of Europe, they kind of like their tradition, and they don't care if it's an old game. They're gonna keep playing. Whereas in the UK, we're a bit like, oh, that's old, that's done. What's the new thing? So maybe with CS2, it might bring a bit more interest around it, and you know, it might bring people that were into it back in the day, or maybe even are we getting to the point yet where people's kids are playing? Is there any pro players that are like, oh, my dad got me into it? It's usually my brother, isn't it, or my cousin or something?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I think pretty soon it's gonna be, oh, my dad.
That's gonna be mental. It'll be your kids, mate.
Yeah, I mean, my eldest now is 6, and I'm pretty sure electronics started playing when he was 5.
That's mad. Well, I just think it's something for us to keep an eye on, because we want, you know, UK CS to do well, And yeah, I just feel like it's
Well, a couple of weeks' time we'll be in the thick of it, so we can report back then, and hopefully the UKCS isn't as bad as it seems online.
That's true. So what's up next? What have we got going next? We've got Pro League's up next.
Yeah.
So this is also exciting, and I'm excited to see this start. I don't think it starts till next week. Oh, next week. So next Wednesday. Got a bit of time.
Yeah.
But why this is interesting is there's just so many teams involved, right? Like.
Oh, do you know where it is?
Sorry.
Do you know where it is? Where it's based?
Malta, I think it's in Malta.
Yeah, it's in Malta.
Yeah. And I think there's just so many teams, right? So like, and we're gonna see like a real mix of teams and rankings. I don't think we should be calling anyone right now and making guesses on who's gonna do well, right? It's all a bit mental.
And Vitality.
Okay, is that you?
Yeah, easy.
But then you've got like just like, yeah, like. Big.
It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun anyway. This is a bit more casual, and yeah, I feel like it's going to be quite fun this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, like you got some pretty interesting. You got Rooster in there, man. We've got to be supporting Rooster from Australia, ranked 110th in the world. That's gonna be fun to watch a bit of Rooster.
We've got an Aussie team, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes.
M80.
Huh?
M80, they're the new team.
I don't know.
M80, the American team.
Oh yeah. I think they are, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they're in it. Yeah, so yeah, that should be a good little tournament, that. But yeah, I imagine Ents and Vitality are going to run away with it.
Okay, well we'll see. Anything else you would like to discuss, or have we? Do you think we've?
I think we've touched on everything, mate. Next week I will be in Spain. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but we can have a little chat. We can sort something out. Sure
we can. Well, technically, you know, the Pro League doesn't start till next Wednesday, so we've got a bit of time. We're all good. We'll be watching Pro League. We might have Counter-Strike 2 access by then, and if so, who knows? Because, you know, that's the big one. But, yeah. All right. Well, let's leave it there. GG. Well done, Vitality.
GG's. Yeah.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Adios.